Good Country People by Flannery O'Connor, Part 6 of 7. We won't need the Bible, she observed. You never can tell, he said, panting. After he had got onto the loft, he was a few seconds catching his breath. She had sat down in a pile of straw, and wide sheets of sunlight, filled with dust particles, slanted over her. She lay back against the bale, her face turned away, looking out the front opening of the barn, where hay was thrown from a wagon into the loft. The two pink-speckled hillsides lay back against the dark ridge of woods. The sky was cloudless and cold blue. The boy dropped down beside her and put one arm under her and the other over her and began methodically kissing her face, making little noises like a fish. He did not remove his hat, but it was pushed far enough back not to interfere. When her glasses got in his way, he took them off of her and slipped them into his pocket. The girl at first did not return any of the kisses, but presently she began to, and after she had put several on his cheeks, she reached his lips and remained there, kissing him again and again, as if she were trying to draw all the breath out of him. His breath was clear and sweet like a child's, and the kisses were sticky like a child's. He mumbled about loving her and about knowing when he first seen her that he loved her, but the mumbling was like the sleepy fretting of a child being put to sleep by his mother. Her mind, throughout this, never stopped or lost itself for a second to her feelings. You ain't said you loved me none, he whispered finally, pulling back from her. You've got to say that. She looked away from him, off into the hollow sky, and then down at a black ridge, and then down farther into what appeared to be two green, swelling lakes. She didn't realize he had taken her glasses, but this landscape could not seem exceptional to her, for she seldom paid any close attention to her surroundings. You've got to say it, he repeated. You've got to say you love me. She was always careful how she committed herself. In a sense, she began, if you use the word loosely, you might say that. But it's not a word I use. I don't have illusions. I'm one of those people who see through to nothing. The boy was frowning. You've got to say it. I said it, and you've got to say it, he said. The girl looked at him almost tenderly. You poor baby, she murmured. It's just as well you don't understand. And she pulled him by the neck, facing down against her. We are all damned, she said, for some of us have taken off our blindfolds and see that there's nothing to see. It's kind of a salvation. The boy's astonished eyes looked blankly through the ends of her hair. Okay, he almost whined. But do you love me, or don't you? Yes, she said and added, in a sense. But I must tell you something. There mustn't be anything dishonest between us. She lifted his head, and looked him in the eye. I'm 30 years old, she said. I have a number of degrees. The boy's look was irritated but dogged. I don't care, he said. I don't care a thing about what all you've done. I just want to know if you love me or don't you. And he caught her to him and wildly planted her face with kisses until she said, yes, yes. Okay then, he said, letting her go. Prove it. She smiled, looking dreamily out on the shifty landscape. She had seduced him without even making up her mind to try. How? She asked, feeling that he should be delayed a little. He leaned over and put his lips to her ear. Show me where your wing leg joins on, he whispered. The girl uttered a sharp little cry, and her face instantly drained of color. The obscenity of the suggestion was not what shocked her. As a child she had sometimes been subject to feelings of shame, but education had removed the last traces of that, as a good surgeon scraping for cancer. She would no more have felt it over what he was asking than she would have believed in his Bible. But she was as sensitive about the artificial leg as a peacock about his tail. No one ever touched it but her. She took care of it as if someone else would his soul. In private, and almost with her eyes turned away. No, she said. I know it, he muttered, sitting up. You're just playing me for a sucker. Oh, no, no, she cried. It joins at the knee, only at the knee. Why do you want to see it? The boy gave her a long, penetrating look. Because, he said, it's what makes you different. You ain't loved anybody else. She sat, staring at him. There was nothing about her face or her round, freezing blue eyes to indicate that this had moved her, but she felt as if her heart had stopped and left her mind to pump her blood. She decided that for the first time in her life she was face to face with real innocence. This boy, with an instinct that came from beyond wisdom, had touched the truth about her. When after a minute she said in a hoarse, high voice, "All right," it was like surrendering to him completely. It was like losing her life and finding it again, miraculously, in his. Very gently he began to roll the slack leg up. The artificial limb, in a white sock and brown flat shoe, was bound in a heavy material like canvas, and ended in an ugly jointure where it was attached to the stump. The boy's face and his voice were entirely reverent as he uncovered it and said, "Now show me how to take it off and on." She took it off for him and put it back on again, and then he took it off himself, handling it as tenderly as if it were a real one. "See," he said, the delighted child's face. "Now I can do it myself." "Put it back on," she said. She was thinking that she would run away with him, and that every night he would take the leg off, and every morning put it back on. "Put it back on," she said. "Not yet," he murmured, setting it on its foot out of her reach. "Leave it off for a while. You got me instead." Part 6.